Hello, girls, gays, and theys. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Jess. And hey, before we start this podcast, I want to tell everybody a really quick thing that happened to Lauren and I. We just got home from one of my shows and we went to take the dogs for a walk. And we got to the end of the driveway. We have 2 sausages, by the way.
Yeah.
We got to the end of the driveway and there was a giant fucking snake.
It was terrifying.
In the middle of the road, and I didn't even see it. And I literally took one of our dogs and walked straight near it. And Lauren was like, snake, snake.
Well, to be fair, I am terrified of them.
And then, so that was terrifying. I still feel jittery. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm going to be very up and down on the pod today.
I feel a bit jittery too. I'm like, oh, it gives me chills now. And it was quite dark.
Yeah, it was dark out. It was 7 p.m. darkness. We don't have the daylight savings.
No, we don't have
like
daylight
Sydney.
savings up here in the Queensland.
Or, yeah, below the border.
Below the water.
Oh, so yeah, I feel jittery and I feel a bit froggy. So, because I've been a bit sick. So,
Yeah, she sounds a bit froggy.
if I sound a bit froggy, I apologize. But yeah, I think that leads us into what we're going to talk about today.
It does.
Because
So-
I was feeling unsafe.
I was feeling super unsafe, and yeah, that's the perfect segue for what we're talking about today, and that's the topic of safe spaces within our queer community, as well as language, what's appropriate, what isn't appropriate.
Good
to
topic.
say. I think that's such a wonderful topic that needs the education.
Good topic, because we've all been there, I think, when someone said something dumb and you just go, oh, I really wish you hadn't have said that.
Yeah,
Whether it's a
exactly.
friend, a family member, maybe someone you don't even know that, you know, maybe you
Yeah.
work in hospitality and some dickhead made a comment.
I think the hardest thing is, you often find that there's not that education there. And I guess that's where we're sort of trying to come in and provide that education. Maybe you're an ally, you're a friend of the family.
And maybe even within the queer community, because I know sometimes it comes down to what I find offensive, you might not find offensive.
Yeah.
And so I guess we just all have to be educated as to be mindful of what others might find offensive versus what you find offensive.
Yes. So have you found like there's a moment, obviously we've said we've all experienced that, where we've had someone come up to you and said something dumb and you go, oh my God, you would never ask a straight person that.
Yeah, I've been asked quite openly a few times, who's the man in your relationship? Who's the woman in your relationship? I am betting any money that a lot of you guys that are listening to this right now have been asked the same thing.
Yeah.
And my biggest response is, why would you ask a gay couple something that you wouldn't ask a straight couple?
That's what it is, right? Like, I think many people don't think about the effects that can have on someone. And they're just so not educated. They don't have that knowledge or able to make that opinion.
I definitely don't think that people think that it's offensive when they
No,
ask.
they don't.
I think they're
Generally curious, I think.
But I think it comes down to social standards or what we have always been fed, that is the social norm.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, someone has to fill this role and someone has to fill that role. It's like when you scroll through Instagram, and like I have friends that have children and they're in a gay relationship.
Yeah.
And some of the comments that you read are disgusting, where people are saying,
Social media is disgusting in general.
yeah, but where they're saying, oh, how can you raise a baby without a father? How can you
What?
raise a baby without a mother? And my biggest response to that is honestly just, what about all those kids that only grew up in a one-parent family?
Yeah,
Whether
that's
that
me.
was, whether that was the choice of a parent or whether it was just circumstantial, like maybe a parent passed away.
Yeah.
Maybe, there was family divide. Maybe
DV.
maybe your other parent is in a different country.
Yeah,
Maybe
you just don't know the situation.
Yes, I don't think it is correct for anybody to make these assumptions that people can't be good parents because you're gay.
No.
It's those things that get brought up to you in society and you're just like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, it's so weird. I think same thing. Who's the man in the relationship?
Yeah. That's a big one, I
That's
feel.
a big one, yeah.
I feel like everyone's probably experienced that every now and then. The other thing that I had said to me once, and this was like someone I really didn't expect to hear this from. They were quite close to my family. But she said to me, oh, Jess, if you were straight, you'd be married and you'd have kids by now.
Yeah.
And I was like,
What?
I was like, just because I'm of my sexuality doesn't change the trajectory of my life
Yeah.
or the path I want to be on for myself. I would still be the same person. The difference would be Lauren would be a boy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change who I am or what I want out of my life.
Yeah, and that's so weird, right? Like,
I thought that was the strangest thing to say to someone.
It is. It is the strangest thing to say to someone. And it's like what you said. You're like, if I want to have kids, I would have had kids by now. Like,
Have you ever experienced where someone has said something that might imply that either they themselves are gay or a friend is gay, and then they've quickly like hidden it? Like they've quickly gone, oh, but not in a gay way. Have you ever had that?
I don't know about not in a gay way, but I've had friends openly say, you know, they're happy to explore with like men or women or kiss or whatever. And then...
Or Kiss, like the band?
No, yeah, dickhead. You know what I mean? People trying to speak of fluidity, which I guess is a term in our community as well, which we'll try and cover a few of the terms that have come up recently.
Yeah.
Because there are a few new ones that we were like, oh, we need to educate ourselves a bit.
I heard some words the other day and I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, they were like, oh, no, I'm fully straight. It's fine.
I had someone say to me, they were talking about a friend that had gone through IVF.
Yeah.
And she just didn't have a partner. And when this person was explaining to me, oh, my friend did IVF. Oh, she's not gay though. And I was just like, so what if she was?
But
why did you make that a point?
Yeah. What?
It was weird. It's like, why are you defending that? You don't
Yeah.
need to do that.
Such a weird point.
It's those things that we come across in general conversation with people that I'm like, why are you like this?
And I think sometimes it takes taken back by what people say, because you're like, hang on, did they really just say what I think they said?
Sometimes it blows my mind.
Yeah.
I guess this is where we're coming from. If you're listening as an ally
Yeah.
to what we're going to talk about today, I guess this is a little notebook that you can keep in your brain to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't ask this, or
Yeah.
maybe I need to rethink this question I'm going to ask.
In saying that, just for the people listening who are maybe even in the queer community, because sometimes we can also be guilty of accidentally saying stuff,
Oh, yeah.
but also allies as well. Is there a way that maybe these people can approach the question? Like, you know, they may have that question and go, oh, I really need to try and understand this, but I don't know how to get that across without it coming off offensive or rude.
Yeah, I mean, don't ask a gay couple something you wouldn't ask a straight couple.
Yeah,
for
I think
once.
that's kind of standard.
That's standard. I think if you're going to be self-aware and say, sorry if this is an inappropriate question, but I was just wondering this.
Yeah.
At least you're kind of coming across self-aware with what you're asking.
Yeah.
I think nothing really offends me, but if someone had said to me, oh, I don't mean to be offensive when I'm asking this, but do you identify like one of you as more masculine than the other?
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a better question than
Who's the man?
Who's the man in your relationship?
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're not asking the same thing, but you are.
It's not the appropriate type of question to be asking. It's, we're in a gay relationship as two women. Neither one of us are the man.
Yeah.
We didn't want that.
Other things that people say to me, they assume that I've never had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
People assume that you've never been in a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they assume that you don't like being with a man. And I always make this joke that it's not that I don't like dick. I usually just don't like what it's attached to.
It's attached to, yeah.
And like, oh, you know what the other thing is?
What?
It's when people find out that you're gay and they'll go, are you sure you just haven't found the right man yet?
Oh my God, I hate that. And it's like, I can turn you straight.
Yeah, or you haven't had me yet.
Yeah, you haven't had me. My dick can change you.
That's so many people have heard that, right, guys?
Yeah.
So many people say the same thing. So I hate when that is also assumed.
Yeah.
So
I
all
think
these-
that's where it comes from. It's the assumptions.
Yeah, that's exactly. You took the words right out of my
Yeah.
mouth. I was literally about to say it's the assumptions that drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you've had like that?
I think it's more in the topic of homophobia, really, but not in a sense of them making assumptions or something. It was, you know, obviously us being queer in a queer relationship, you know, things move quite fast, but also us being in our 30s, we talk about ticking clocks and everything. And not that we're anywhere near ready to have kids. We were discussing it and discussing eggs and whatnot. And
it's always good to know.
It is. It's good to know, especially with a lot of my health issues. It's good to be aware and see who's fertile and what's going on, and just making sure that everything was good. So I reached out to a few fertility clinics. I didn't hear back for a while, and then eventually I did, and I got a thing saying, oh, come on, bring your partner in, we'll have a consultation and everything. I was like, oh, okay, great. I'll let them know. I called them up and I said, oh, cool, when can my partner and I come in? And they were like, he, and I had to correct them and say, no, actually I'm with a girl. And then they said, oh, sorry, we don't service you. And I think that's kind of the first time I really, really experienced that homophobia.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was really taken aback by that. I was like, holy shit, like, sure, you hear every now and then the comments that, yes, they're not appropriate, but sometimes you can just let them slide off your back. But this was the first time I was really stopped in my tracks.
I think the thing that annoys me about that kind of situation is if you were a single woman, they would take you to do IVF.
Yeah.
What's the difference between being a single woman and being in a same-sex relationship? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't understand the difference.
No, I didn't either. And I was so confused, especially then when I re-looked up their website. The whole reason I went to that website in the first place was because they had a picture of a same-sex couple, which was two women
False
on
advertising.
False advertising.
You just jogged my memory of one other thing while we're talking about kind of things that get asked and things that get said.
Yeah.
One thing that really annoys me is when you're openly talking about maybe sexual experience or things like that, and someone at the table will go, oh, I could never go down on a girl.
Yeah.
Or I could never do that. Girl, you put dick in your mouth and you expect your boyfriend to go down on you. What's the difference? It makes you feel like what you're doing is
dirty.
so bad.
Yeah, it makes you feel dirty in a way, and you're like, why? We've recently tried to get out of so much of that stigma already.
Yeah.
As the alphabet mafia, and we're doing really well, but we still have such a long, long way to go.
And I love how people say, oh, no offense, but I could never do that. It's like,
you're
the
like,
fact
but
that
that's
you
all
just said
offense.
that is 100% offensive.
All offense, mate.
That's like me going, no offense, you're a dickhead.
Yeah.
It's like, that's offensive to say.
But she says that on a regular basis. It's fine. I'm used to it.
I do, but I hope that person then feels some of my pain when people say dumb shit.
It is dumb shit. I think just circling back to language, like we said before, there's so many new terms that you and I have had to re-educate ourselves on and gone, oh my God, I didn't know this was there. So I thought I'd just do a quick little breakdown of what some of the terms were. So I had a quick look on like Google and Reddit, and obviously TikTok. There's been a few things going around.
Yeah, I need some education on some of these terms because Lauren said the word sapphic the other day and I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's so prolific at the moment, especially in social media. You see a lot of people talk about like sapphic films, sapphic novels, all these different sapphic things. So sapphic essentially, I guess, is another term for lesbian. It means relating to sexual attraction or activity between women, according to Google definition.
See, I like the word sapphic.
Yeah, me too.
It rolls nicely off the tongue.
It does. She also has a bit of a quarrel with the word lesbian, kind of where you find it a bit offensive and I don't.
I touched on this briefly in our first episode. It's not that I find it offensive. I think I'm offended when somebody calls me a lesbian because I don't identify as a lesbian.
Yeah.
I don't identify as bisexual or pansexual or queer or anything like that. I think I've just always been so comfortable with just calling myself gay.
Gay, yeah.
And the thing that I can come back to that when I think about it is when you think about where these terms have derived from, gay always used to just mean happy. Right?
Yeah.
And then it started to take on the same-sex couple kind of, language. I've always felt like the words lesbian and queer have always been derogatory terms until recently.
Yeah.
So that's where, and like I'm working through that because I say queer community on here and I identify as part of the queer community. I think it's just when you go back down the track, even in television and movies, people have gone, oh no, that person's queer.
Yeah.
That person's a bit queer. And that's so offensive. And I think it comes back to you being a theatre kid. Obviously, people in the theatre are called thespians.
Yeah, thespians. Yeah.
When I was in high school and you get your year 12 jersey, in the year above me, there was a bunch of theatre kids and they all wanted to get thespian on the back of their Jersey.
Yeah.
And they were told they couldn't because it sounded too much like lesbian.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like, so you're not allowed to have lesbian because it's what? A derogatory term. So that's where I'm like,
yeah.
it's always been so, oh no, you can't say that, it's derogatory.
Yeah, why is it so taboo? Why is it
Yeah.
so thing? I think that's the thing as well. Like, obviously in this community you see, especially recently, we're trying to take back the power of what those words mean and owning our truths. Okay, so the next one was WLW, because I said that to Jess the other day and she was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because, well, it's woman loves woman.
Yeah.
Woman loving woman.
Woman loving woman.
Or women loving women.
Women loving women.
I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty sure everyone's read some fan fiction on here, but that also used to be like femme slash.
Yeah.
And so I've seen like WLW before.
Written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am not used to it.
No, I think it's definitely come up a lot more in the younger generation because I've only really seen it sort of like in TikTok and all those abbreviations, and I've gone, hang on, what's this mean?
I feel like maybe a lot of the listeners would know what these things are and we're just old.
Well, yeah, maybe we're old. Maybe we are old.
We're on the way out.
Nah.
We're at that age now where like all the new things are coming. Like when
in.
people started saying their eyebrows were on fleek.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
no,
fleek
I do remember
on
that.
fleek? What?
Yeah, that was weird. Fleek's not in now.
No,
that's
but
old news now.
I was old when fleek came in.
Yeah, well.
So, yeah.
So just circling back again. If we're going down, like you just said, you said femme. And
Did I? When did I say femme? Oh, femme slash.
You said femme slash.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And just going to that just really means someone who presents in a more feminine way.
Yeah. So if you guys listened to our last episode, we kind of touched on feminine, masculine,
Yeah.
and STEM. So
this is just trying to give a bit more of a Google definition and dive into that, especially because neither one of us are really like identify.
You identify as femme.
I identify as a femme.
I have never really thought about what I identify as.
A dinosaur. No, I'm kidding.
Because I'm fucking ancient. No. I've never really thought about it until we did the Do I Look Gay episode.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh, I do sit in the middle of, I'm STEM.
Yeah, STEM.
And I never really thought about it until we did that episode. And maybe you guys hadn't thought about it either until we did that episode.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously, you guys don't have to put yourself in a box.
No.
I've never really put myself in a box. I think after doing that episode, I just thought, oh, I do identify more as this.
If someone had to give you a box.
If they gave me a label.
That's kind of where you were sitting. But I think here on the pod, be free to be whatever you want to be. We don't put you in any labels. You don't have to put yourself in any labels.
But we had fun putting celebrities in labels.
We sure did. That was fun.
If you haven't gone and listened to that episode, maybe you should.
Yeah.
It was fun.
So speaking of the fact that Jess kind of spoke about STEM, just circling back to that one.
Stop saying circling back.
No, I can't think of the thing.
Circling back is like when you're on the Titanic and it's sinking and you're like going back for survivors.
No, it's not.
It is. Circling back.
You're circling back. Everyone take a shot every time Lauren says circling back.
We're talking about STEM.
So STEM is a person whose present expression falls somewhere between a stud and a femme.
And stud, we didn't really cover that too much.
Stud, when I looked at like Google definition, it said it came from like Latin America and African American lesbians, where they use the term stud because it was more an aggressive or like butchy type lesbian. But then it kind of also just says in here a dominant lesbian.
Okay.
So the tops maybe. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I was going to say you could present femme and still be dominant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't then call that a stud.
No. That was Google, not
That's
me.
confusing.
It
What
is
does Google
confusing.
know? Google knows
Google
shit.
no shit.
We should be asking the studs out there. What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
what do you guys think?
Gotta let us know. Google's letting us down.
Google ain't helping. And just
I wonder if Google's a stud.
Probably.
Who's the person behind?
Who is the person
curtain?
behind the curtain at Google? There's a fair few of them.
It's a really successful company, so gays probably run it.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. We were talking about these different terminologies. One that kind of really stuck with me was baby gay, mostly because I technically identify as a baby gay. But when I was on TikTok, I saw this girl, you know, as we all do, scroll lesbian TikTok and it comes up constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman was saying
how she found
the word baby gay offensive, because what it essentially means is newly out or inexperienced lesbian or gay or bisexual or whatever you identify as. And I thought, well, yeah, that's what I am. So that was how I identified. And I just found it so fascinating how one person found it offensive and I didn't.
Yeah. But is that because maybe that person thought, oh, if I'm calling myself that, I'm openly telling everybody that I am inexperienced, and maybe that was like a bit of an embarrassing thing?
And maybe that's what it is, and maybe it's a sense of vulnerability and you're like, oh shit, I don't want to present to the newly out queer world.
You don't want to be too vulnerable
or too inexperienced to get
completely
taken
get
advantage of.
I completely get that.
Yeah, so I understand that.
And this is where we're saying, guys, like what you find offensive, someone else might not, and what they find offensive, you might not find offensive. So this is really, it comes down to you as a person and allowing the people in your circle to know what you like to be called or what you don't like to be called, or what is good language that creates a safe space for you language wise.
And if they are good friends or anything like that, they will respect that and take into consideration what you have said to them and try and really educate themselves on that.
The same as people that are willing to use your pronouns if you change them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. If people are your friend and they're listening to you, well, then they're going to call you by the correct pronouns.
Yeah.
The same as people calling you by the correct name.
Yeah.
It comes down to just, it's basic
It's respect.
Yep.
That's what it is. It's respect, man.
It is respect. So while we're in that circle of safe language and your friendship group, let's talk about safe spaces for...
Because it does go hand in hand.
Yeah, for the queer community to like enter.
Yeah.
And this, it doesn't just limit to
4 walls.
And we're not just limiting it to even places to go.
Yeah.
If you're from Brisbane like we are, the safest place to go was the beat.
Yeah, the beat.
Or Fluffy's on a Sunday night.
The Wickham.
The Wickham. Yeah, the Wickham's been around for a very long time.
Or whatever the gay club or safe space is that's in your city.
We're not just talking about those places that you feel safe going to. We're also talking about friendship circles, family circles, and how to create a safe space. But staying on the places that you can go to feel safe, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah. Throw it at me.
I was talking to a friend the other night who is also gay because, you know, gays and gays, we're all friends.
We're all friends. We all know each other.
We all know each other. We know all of you out there.
We've all seen the map.
He was talking about, he went to the beat the other night for the first time in like 5 years.
Yeah.
And so many straight people were in there. And obviously we're all about inclusivity.
Yeah.
We want to be inclusive. We don't want to marginalize other people. But what are your thoughts on straight people taking over a predominantly gay space? Because his view was, as a straight person, if you're in a heterosexual relationship, you can
go out anywhere.
You can go out anywhere and hold hands and make out on a dance floor, and then the space in like the Beat and the Wickham and places where we openly are able to go and do that, we are so segregated to those places that we actually feel safe doing that. We could do them in the street and we could go to other places, but do you feel safe doing that?
No, I definitely don't feel safe doing that in a, I guess, more predominantly heterosexual or straight club or straight area, because you never know who's out there. You don't know what's going to set someone off. So, of course, and I can understand where your friend's coming from in saying that he felt a little bit like, why are these straight people here? Because especially when the Beat is supposed to be that safe space for gay people, I can totally and fully understand that.
And I know it comes down to as well, a lot of people usually go to gay clubs when they don't want to get hit on by the opposite sex.
Oh, yeah.
So I completely understand that. And like we're saying, guys, we're not trying to be not inclusive or saying that straight people can't come into our spaces.
We're all inclusive. I think the issue for us, and probably what he was saying, is that we aren't able to have the same rights out in the open in a heterosexual club or in a straight. We should be able to, but unfortunately that's not how the world is.
Yeah.
So, you know, even you and I have discussed it, that there's sometimes we don't feel safe holding hands or sharing a kiss in certain places.
Yeah.
And I feel like Brisbane's quite an open place, but there's still times that we're a bit like, oh, maybe we shouldn't right now.
But you always have, or I'm not going to speak for you. I always have this thought in the back of my head, especially in, like, I work in music and entertainment, and so at shows obviously you're professional, but I always have that thought process in the back of my head, like when you come to my shows and if maybe like someone sees us like kiss in the car
Kissing,
park or
yeah.
holding hands on a break or something like that, I have this fear that, they're not going to like me now. They're not going to, they don't want to follow the band anymore because, what if they don't like gay people? It's like you always have that,
You do.
you always have that cog turning in your head.
It's
going,
that internal monologue that
fear.
Yeah.
We need to break away from it.
it's hard. And again, it's like what I said, whilst we've come so far as a society to be so open to gay and queer people, we still have such a long way to go.
There's still, you walk around with
With
fear.
eggshells. You're walking on eggshells.
Going back to the gay clubs versus the straight clubs.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, if you are two women in a straight club kissing, people are going to go off and the guys will be wolf whistling and, woo,
Yeah.
so hot. But if two men were to do that, suddenly they have to fear for their lives that someone's going to come up and
Yeah,
bash
I
them.
know. And it's terrifying. And I feel so sorry for like our gay friends who are in a male same-sex couple.
Mm-hmm.
It is terrible. And I think
It's naturally harder for them.
it is, because this is the thing that also frustrates me as well. Whilst it's naturally harder for them, I hate the fact that for women, it's over-sexualized.
Mm-hmm.
We're not porn.
No, and that's the thing. Straight men that are homophobic will watch lesbian porn and that's okay. But two men holding hands on the street have to fear their lives.
Yeah, and then the terrible F word is said.
Yeah, these are the things we're up against every day, guys.
Every day. And it's such like a painful draw. No wonder people, unfortunately, and especially back in the day, have harmed themselves, because how do you escape?
Mm-hmm. You don't.
How do you feel free? You're not free to be able to be in your own skin, to be happy in your own life.
And this is why creating a safe space
It's
for
so
you
important.
is so important.
So
So how can we do that? How do you create a safe space for you?
I think creating a safe space for me is, I'm a very big person on energies. I also don't find a lot of things offensive either.
Yeah.
I think it's just making sure that I have a good time, that the people I'm with. But again, it also is to just check out my surroundings a little bit. And it's kind of sad that I have to do that, that I have to go, okay, where am I at?
Yeah.
To just be happy in my own skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to use circle back now. For me, circling back to the lesbian conversation,
Yeah.
I like to tell people that I prefer Jess is gay versus Jess is
Now
a lesbian.
sapphic.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to take on sapphic.
So you might
Jess
take
is
on
sapphic.
That's kind of sexy.
I
like it.
Sexy.
It sounds sexy.
Do you reckon it goes with my face?
I do.
Okay, that's
I reckon
good.
it goes with your hair.
Oh, yeah, sapphic red. Sapphire.
Sapphic red.
That's what it reminds me of.
Sapphic wine time.
Yeah. Yeah, so creating that space for me is making sure that the people in my circle know my pronouns.
Yeah.
I don't differ from, like, I identify as a cis woman, so
Yeah.
like they know my pronouns, they know that I prefer to be called gay and not
Gay,
lesbian.
yeah.
I guess there haven't been any other times that I've had to really pull anyone up on my inner circle.
No.
Actually, I was thinking as well, I don't know how much you notice, but do you feel safer entering businesses that have the little LGBT?
Oh, like that little love heart that's
Yeah.
like, I'm an ally or
Yeah.
LGBT friendly.
I always feel better going into stores that have that blatantly displayed.
Yeah, me too. I think 100%. It makes you feel more welcomed. You're like, okay, I know that they're friendly. I know that I'm not going to be discriminated against here.
Especially in places like I go and get laser hair removal. And I always feel better when there's that sticker there because I always feel super judged in those.
I was going to say, it's such an uncomfortable environment to begin with.
Yeah, because it's a vulnerable space.
Yeah.
And you're there, like, getting hair removed.
Yeah, so
and
having that little bit of comfort knowing, okay, great, they're happy and welcoming.
yeah, you don't walk in there and announce that you're gay, but it's kind of like a little bit of a comfort.
It's like you have a breath of fresh air where you can just have that sigh of relief and go, great, I'm fine here.
If they know I'm gay, I'm not going to be discriminated
Yeah.
against. Yeah. But guys, if you're experiencing slight homophobia, be assertive.
Yeah, be assertive.
Don't take that shit. Obviously, don't do anything that's going to put your life in danger.
No.
I think I've just always been assertive. And I think when we did coming out stories and talking about always coming out, like you don't just come out
it's
once.
constant.
I think I've tried to always since then just not make a big deal of it.
Yeah.
Just off the cuff, oh, my girlfriend and I don't have a boyfriend, I have a girlfriend.
Yeah, I think I do the same thing, honestly. I feel like it's not and it shouldn't be a big deal to anyone. I talk about normal self and I say my partner, and then if they say he, then I'll correct them and go, no, actually she, but I don't go, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lauren and I'm gay. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think I come from the place of if I play it down, then someone else isn't going to think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I'm not making a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, guys, it's your life. It should only be a big deal to you.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, it shouldn't be a big deal to anyone else, what you're
It's
doing.
no one
or
else's business.
who you're loving. My biggest thing growing up, every time someone's had a problem with gay relationships, has always been, we have so much war and crime and death in the world, and you're going to care about two people who love each other.
Yeah, I know. What? Come off it, mate. So I thought this would be a fun little game to play since we've been talking so much about language and our community. I'm going to test Jess to see if she knows what the letters of LGBTQIA stands for and what they mean. Okay.
I'm a really bad gay. So,
all right.
Okay, go.
L.
Lesbian.
Yes. What does a lesbian mean?
A lesbian means a girl who likes other girls.
Yeah, so correct. So Google's definition of a lesbian is a woman who is sexually or romantically attractive exclusively to other women.
Attracted.
Sorry. Attracted to other women. A gay woman.
A gay woman.
It put in parentheses.
Oh, okay.
What does G stand for?
Gay.
Woo!
My favorite word.
Just gay stuff.
Just gay stuff.
Okay.
Gay is the best.
Gay. Well, in this context.
In this context, gay means two men who like each other.
It means, to Google, it means sexually or romantically attracted to people of one's own sex.
See, it's not just
men.
That's why
it does put in what are those things called? The brackets. Used especially of a man, but that is not necessarily the case.
Okay, well that's good because that's why I like to identify as gay.
So go for your life. Identify as whatever you want to identify.
I will.
Good. What does B stand for?
Bisexual.
What does bisexual mean?
A bisexual is somebody who likes both men and women.
Yeah, so that's right. So sexually or romantically attracted to both men and women, or to more one sex or gender.
Yeah.
What does T stand for?
Transgender.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Google says relating to a person whose gender identity does not correspond with the sex registered for them at birth.
Yep.
Transgender.
Perfect.
Q.
Queer.
Yeah. Relating to a sexual gender identity that does not correspond to established idea of sexuality and gender norms.
Mm-hmm.
I.
I.
This is tricky because I didn't know this one.
Is it intersex?
Yeah.
I knew
good
that.
job.
I knew that. So is that somebody that... See, I'm not too sure. Is this somebody who identifies as both male and female, or
So this is
is this someone who has both genitals at birth?
This is someone who has both male and female sex organs and sexual characteristics at birth.
That is so interesting to me because I love biology.
Yeah.
And how we as humans are crazy. Like the things that biology and DNA can do blows my mind.
It's hectic.
Yep.
And it's beautiful.
This is such a side note, and Lauren knows this story, but I have a friend who is a fraternal twin and they both have different dads.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, let that one
Sink in.
roll around your brain for a minute.
What does A stand for?
Allies. No?
No. Ba-ba.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
It stands for asexual.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you did know.
I did know.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was like QIA plus was like allies and others.
No, it's asexual.
Ah.
So, our listeners can correct me if I'm wrong, but I got this off of Google. So
Yeah.
please let us know if I have gotten that right or wrong.
Which I hope you don't mind me saying, but you had told me that before you met me, you started to consider yourself as maybe being asexual.
Yeah, I did.
And what did that mean for you?
I think for me it was very, very hard. Like I've always had that emotional connection, but I just, especially in my heterosexual relationships, I always found that I didn't want to be intimate with them. I didn't have that drive. It felt like a chore or a task.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though I may have been somewhat stimulated by ex-partners, both female and male, I didn't have that drive to want to be intimate with them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until you and I got together that I was like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. I'm not asexual at all.
Mm-hmm.
I have quite a healthy relationship with being intimate. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense to me now.
And see, for me, I am not ashamed to say that I really didn't understand what asexual meant. And I think that it still can differ from person to person.
Oh, of course.
I've met people who, and this may be where I got confused, but I've met people who identify as asexual that don't like sex at all.
Yeah.
And then the other understanding was, if you identified as asexual, you would rather masturbation than somebody else being intimate with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. So those were the two that I heard. And guys, if you know more than us, please let us know.
Please let us know. We encourage the education in the comments.
We do not claim to know
we're not
anything.
We're not experts. So in going back to that, because this is the last one, asexual, according to Google, stands for experiencing no sexual feelings or desires, not feeling sexual attraction to anyone.
Okay. Well,
I think there can be levels to asexuality though.
Yeah.
I feel like you can have, for example, mine, I could still be sexually attracted to them, but I didn't want to have sex with them.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I feel about hot guys when I see them.
Yeah, you can still, that's a whole other...
I still think that they are sexy. I just
Yeah.
don't want them to touch me.
Yeah, that's a whole other pod thing. You can totally be attracted.
It's called window shopping, guys.
Yeah.
Where you just look and you don't touch. And it's not a case of you can't afford it. You just don't want to buy it.
You don't want to buy it. You're just like, they look good.
I think we could circle back on this episode at some point.
I think we shall. There's a few topics we touched on there that we could go a bit of a deeper dive in.
And guys, let us know if anything that we've said you identify with, or if we got anything wrong, or you want us to talk more on a specific topic, because we really want this space to be
A community.
somewhere you come to listen to go, that's what Jess and Lauren think, and maybe you can educate us as well.
Yes, please do. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening, and remember to
stay gay, motherfuckers.
I'm talking about, you're talking about, we're talking about just gay stuff.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Just Gay Stuff. Make sure to follow us at Just Gay Stuff Podcast on all of your socials, and write to us with your stories at justgaystuffpodcast@gmail.com.